What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Major Keys podcast, talking to keyboard players about music and life and everything in between. Today, as always, we have a special guest. Today, we've got Mr. Greg Satterthwaite. What's going on, bro?
Hey man, pleasure to be here with you, man. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As we're filming it, we're kind of ending the year. You just got off of a show, like your album release show and all that good stuff. So tell me, just give us a brief breakdown. What's going on with you in your life?
Oh man, well, like you said, we're at the end of the year, so kind of getting into the Christmas season. So, like you said, we just finished playing album release show, released my third album called Crossing Lines on Rope-a-Dope on the Rope-a-Dope label. So the show was great. Had a show out in Atlanta and had some, stellar musicians, of course. Pleasure to have you in the house. Really appreciate the support.
For
You
sure, bro.
coming out here. So it was a nice little crowd out there, and had Terry on Gully playing, and Frank Houston and Joel Powell, and some special guests, Grant Green Jr. playing guitar. A guy I met recently and been working with, and Lawyer Williams sang. So that was a great show. And then just kind of unwinding, getting into the Christmas season, man. I teach also, so I teach at the University of Georgia. So the semester's finished for us, and I got family, kids, so they're kind of trying to wrap up school. So yeah, man, I'm just happy to have a bow on most of the big things during the year, and just gearing up for the Christmas season. That's basically it.
I feel you. I feel you. Yeah, man. Let's start from the top. How did you get introduced into music, or get introduced to playing piano specifically?
I don't come from a musical family.
Hmm.
So for me, getting into the piano was really kind of like about the piano being around and then seeing other people do it. So, I had some friends who, at church who played a little bit of piano. I always tell this story. I remember one time being in I think it was like a hotel or something like that, and seeing a pianist who was working there playing, playing in a lobby bar or something like that. And I remember seeing them, and it just looked like magic to me. Still does. Depends on who's playing.
Yeah.
This person was just playing and their fingers are just like flying over the keys, and I was just like mesmerized. And so I think I always was just like attracted to the instrument. So I got started lessons about age 11, 12, around there. So
Okay.
my mom kind of found somebody to give me lessons. A lady, a real godsend, a lady. I grew up in South Florida, so it's a lady in the South Florida area. Um, yeah, elderly lady named Angie Williams. She taught all the kids at a super discount. Imagine this, my piano lessons were like $5 a session. So this lets you
Wow.
know, well, in addition to her just really doing it for the community,
Yeah.
this is in a, African American community, and she, she's doing it for, students, people who are older, whatever. So she's retired and is at a discount. So yeah, this was a lot of years ago. But anyways, I worked with her for 2 years, and so that was kind of my pathway in, is me just really being attracted to the instrument. And I would say the journey with music has just been one that's unfolding, where different seasons I continue to learn more about, you know different genres, more music, you know what I mean? Because again, my parents weren't really musical, so it wasn't like a ton of music, like growing up in the house and like
Okay.
hearing this and hearing that. Like my influence might have just, I grew up in the 90s, and I have one older brother. So, I remember like coming of age, and it was like hearing some of his records, like, Guy, or, some of those groups, in the 90s, from that ilk, Teddy Riley, whatever, all those type of, artists, and me listening to pop radio and artists like that. So it was just slowly just, unearthing, like, oh, okay, all right, okay. I was into Janet and Sade, and
Yeah.
and whatever was like 90s kind of pop.
Hmm.
whether it's, hip hop that was popular, whatever, stuff like that.
Got you. So you say you only took lessons from the that lady for 2 years,
Yeah. And
and
then
so yeah.
at her kind of request, she was like, you should apply to this art school. So I went to this art school called Dreyfus School of the Arts in Palm Beach County, Florida. Really great magnet arts high school where you have to, audition to be accepted. Public school, but you got to audition to be accepted.
Hmm.
So I started going there for my eighth grade year and went from eighth grade till I graduated. So that was definitely a really incredible experience and very formative. I mean, a big part of like my whole kind of musical direction and everything. So at that arts high school, like I auditioned, I was studying basically just learning the instrument and the fundamentals with her. So,
Hmm.
classical music, written stuff, learning how to
Right.
read, learning how all the kind of fundamentals. So I auditioned on a, classical piece, and at that school, it's like you had to play winter and spring recitals. You had to do juries. So the guy who was running it, had a PhD, and it was kind of set up like a college
I was like, that sounds like KS,
preparatory.
that sounds like KSU to me. I was like, recitals,
Right,
juries. I'm like, man, I wasn't doing any. I did a couple of competition esque sort of things, like when I was in taking lessons, but like it wasn't like a requirement for real, So
right. Yeah. Well, I guess, because it's an art school,
yeah,
he kind of set it up like that. You had to do all your academic stuff, but then outside of that, you had at least an hour a day, sometimes two, depending on what your major was. I mean, we had dance majors, theater, music majors, visual arts, and even under the visual arts stuff like media production on another. So all these kids majoring in all these different things with, so the instructors would try to set this up like, like a real arts kind of
yeah,
environment, like a college, almost like a college kind of situation as far as curriculum. So, and then they had a great like jazz band too.
nice.
And that's really kind of where that's where I caught the bug of like, eighth grade hearing the jazz band and hearing the jazz combo and being like, oh,
Oh, like
what's
this is different. Yeah.
oh, it's just, the sound. If you can remember the first
Hmm.
time you kind of heard the sound or like,
Hmm.
that's what it was for me, like hearing the jazz combos, not knowing anything, not knowing what I was listening to, where the solo started,
Hmm. Yeah.
just nothing, just completely green and uneducated about the music, but really captivated by the sound. And so I started that journey trying to figure that music out, still on that journey, but went into the jazz band like ninth grade and and just kind of been on that journey ever since. Yeah.
Yeah. So you must have been like really learning pretty fast to have only taken lessons for 2 years and then like, okay, all right, we'll go ahead and apply to this art school. Because that
I
seems like because you start I I feel like, well, according to some people's like stands, oh, starting an instrument at like 11 is kind of like, oh man, you were kind of later, you know?
Slate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, of course, like, there's no real timeline, but like a lot of people start when they're like 5, 6, or like, oh man, like I got on the organ at 2 years old, and like I just, whatever, whatever. But
I
yeah,
hear those stories and I'm like, gosh, I wish I did that.
right, 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 right. But I mean, like, but like, so you were moving pretty fast. Like, were you? I'm sure. Like, this seems like this was a lot of like. It wasn't like, oh, your parents put you in this. This was a lot of like you had your own self discovery. So when you got your lessons, so you were moving pretty fast and like just really just being diligent at practicing and all that sort of stuff on your own. Like
You
just due
you
to the nature of you wanting to discover it.
Absolutely right. Yeah. I can tell you've been in this business interviewing people for a while. So yeah, very insightful. Yeah, I mean, I was definitely into it and moving and trying to devour stuff. Definitely not a perfect student all the way through because I think most of us hit a point where the interest wanes, like where it's
Hmm.
like, oh yeah, it's gonna be fun, and then you realize
Like, nah, this work. Yeah.
all the work you have to put in and then you have to start sacrificing. Like I remember like being in the neighborhood, like hanging out playing with the kids, like playing football or whatever, I'm like
Hmm.
tackle football and one of my parents would pull up and be like, okay, we got to go to piano lesson. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh.
yeah, yeah.
So, because I'm like 11, 12, 13, like that, that age. So, I definitely hit that point too of also the interest waning or not wanting to put that work in to keep going. But you're right, overall in that like two to three, but 2+ year span, I was definitely kind of moving and got the fundamentals and I think I was very fortunate. I auditioned on a piece, for Elise,
Okay, yeah,
by Beethoven. So I feel like the professor there really also gave me a chance to like, okay, maybe this student has potential. Because even now, like if you go back to that same school, like when you look at the audition requirements and the pieces that some of these students are playing like in the eighth grade, seventh and eighth grade, like when you look at
yeah,
the repertoire,
yeah. Wild.
oh man, they're you know what I mean? Like they're
Yeah,
playing some really advanced lit. So yeah, I think I was, fortunate that way to like just get a chance. But yeah, I was trying to make up for lost time.
got you.
Yeah.
That's really cool though. So you heard the jazz band. Do you remember what song it was, or like any of like your first interactions with the jazz band? Maybe like you trying to play jazz.
I remember like being in middle school, maybe I don't know if I was in a jazz band yet, but I think I just kind of discovered the blues scale or the pentatonic scale. And I can
Wearing that one
remember
out.
I tell students this and I joke about this story, but man, I thought I had discovered like the Americas or something, like because I came up with this little progression, this little 1 to 4 thing. And, I mean, there's at this point, like what I've been exposed to has been very limited musically,
Hmm.
as far as like, okay, here's a blues or here's a, like just my listening and playing environment. And then so I'm not sure how I kind of stumbled, but I think I was trying to improvise and I was trying to like find something. So between just kind of wearing this pentatonic scale, blues scale out, and this little kind of simple kind of progression, I remember just kind of wearing that out all night. So, that's an early memory of me kind of like in middle school trying to experiment with this, with
Hmm.
jazz, music. I don't remember what I heard the combo
Yeah.
playing,
Right.
yeah, I don't remember what piece but I definitely, you know, I don't know if you're like me. I'm like a small group combo guy. I mean, I love big band too,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
because the combo gives you the opportunity to really stretch.
No, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, so
Yeah, big band is cool. I because I well, I got my first big band experience when I was like 16, like 15 or 16. I went to this I think it was Middle Georgia what college is in Milledgeville. It's a college in
I'm
Milledgeville.
still learning. I've been here 3 years, so
Okay, okay. It's one of the colleges in Milledgeville. It's not Middle. It's Georgia. I don't know. It's one of the, but it was like a 4 day like intensive sort of situation, and like they were doing, but like they had big bands and they had combos or a combo for me. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. But like that was like my first introduction to like big band stuff, and I'm like, oh man, this music is like moving like fast and all that sort of stuff. I'm like, like once they gave me like the lead sheet, I was like, okay, I'm cool, But
yeah.
because like they
But
just
it's
had me reading just straight up, and I was like, I give me the chords.
yeah,
But no, that was like my first big band introduction or whatever. But
yeah.
it was cool. And then like I did big band every semester when I was in KSU, even like past like I did like an extra semester when I didn't try to do academics, but Sam asked me to do it, and so I did another semester of big band. So I did,
Uh,
yeah. So I did, but no, it was cool. And then,
yeah.
but then like some stuff you kind of you just kind of comping, you're not really doing that much, and then some stuff like he give us, and it's like, hey man,
Yeah.
you're not skating on this.
Yes.
You got it.
Yep.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like we did some Pat
Yep.
Metheny sort of stuff, like First Circle. I don't know if you know that's like it was like,
No.
hey, bro, we're if you listen to First Circle, it's got
Detailed.
some weird like kind of synchronized rhythm sort of situations. But anyways, but yeah,
Okay.
so that
Yeah.
was my big band
Shed.
experience.
You got your
Yeah,
undergrad at KSU?
KSU. Yeah, yeah, Kennesaw
Okay,
State. Yeah,
beautiful.
Tyrone was my teacher.
The
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
You had
absolutely.
him on here, right?
Yeah, he was on here. Season 2, episode five. Episode five. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, he's on there.
Okay,
I texted
cool.
to you. I texted to you.
Cool.
But
Yeah.
but
That's
yeah,
the
man.
one.
But no, that's really cool though. But no, I understand what you mean about the combo thing. It's like you can stretch out. It's not too. I mean, like you're still exposed, but but it's more so. That's more of the type of music I listen to, anyways.
Very, very
So
creative.
so it makes sense to be like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah. But we had some really talented people at our school. The trumpet player who was in that combo, his name's Charlie Porter. He went to New York, I think Juilliard,
Mm.
for a degree, and maybe Manhattan for another degree or something like that. And I think he plays with Orrin Evans' big band, or has in the past, like
Okay,
that
nice.
that type of level and
Yeah.
like seriousness of, so you had some people in the combo to really like listen to, some kids who are really pushing and inspiring. So
You felt like the new guy. You felt like, oh shoot, I need to catch up. Did you feel like that, like when you first got there, or were y'all kind of all like the same?
no, always, always catching up. Like even a sax player in my combo. So you had that combo, and then I was several years behind those guys, and then we started our own combo. And tenor sax player in my combo, guy named Mike. He was like all state jazz player, first
Mm.
or second chair, like that type of. So I mean, he was playing all kind of stuff already. So yeah, no, I've been fortunate to always be around good, lots of talent to like keep you very grounded and know exactly how much you need to practice. So
For sure, for sure.
yeah, which is good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
yeah.
So after that, you went to college
Yeah,
and did
yeah.
music. Where did you go, and what was your that schooling like?
Yeah, I went to University of Miami. So I was already again at the art school in West Palm Beach, Florida,
Okay.
and auditioned for a couple places, but it just kind of I felt like this feels comfortable. This feels like close, and just go a few counties down. So yeah, I went to University of Miami for jazz, and again, probably even more so than high school. Talk about small fish
Hmm.
in a big pond. You know what I mean? Like where I was like the jazz guy in high school. When you go to a school like that, now you're just
Yeah.
one of many
Just a
jazz
guy. Yeah,
majors.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're just exactly.
Yeah.
You're just a guy. So, man, that as far as just the students and environment, that definitely was a situation of like, whoa, I mean, you had some like incredibly talented, people down there, So I think that's the best part about some of these schools,
Hmm.
and all the schools have them. I mean, you can really go anywhere and
Yeah, for
find,
sure.
I mean, you could be at a state school, you could be anywhere in the world
Hmm.
and find just incredible people, So that's the beauty about everything. But yeah, definitely some incredible people, and um I think that environment, that's kind of like the best thing for students and people. It's just like when you're around a lot of talented people, that the students push you, like the faculty, the teachers don't even have to push. I mean, they're there and they inspire you too, but sometimes just that environment, great players, combos, groups. So yeah, that was me trying to survive
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Got you.
and
And you
learn. Yeah.
and you got like a what bachelor's in jazz, but I don't
Yeah.
know what was the degree.
Yeah, the degree was and it's basically a bachelor's in performance, in jazz performance.
Okay,
Yeah,
got you. So
yeah.
tell me how, like, what it like. Give me, if you can, give me the rundown of the in between of graduating college and becoming a professor now at a college, because that's not an easy like. Did you have aspirations to be a professor? Like, what were your goals like at that time when you were going to school for music?
Um, I don't know if you can attest to this, maybe you can, but when I was an undergrad, all I wanted to do was play.
Okay, yeah.
just be on somebody's stage,
Hmm.
like, and then I also got into like top 40 bands and stuff like that, top
Yeah, yeah.
40 bands. So I like that too. I like the a lot of that repertoire, R&B
Hmm.
music and classic R&B stuff, Motown, all that top 40 stuff. So that was a thing too that I was into. So I would do that in college sometime, play with bands like that. So for me, it was just I just wanted to be on somebody's bandstand.
Yeah.
If I that was and no, I should add I was also like aspired to be a producer. Just
Okay,
be
yeah.
yeah, just make music that could be used by artists. So between those two things, it was like that's about as far as I could see out,
Yeah.
no 5, no 10 year. So I graduate college. I played with some bands during college. I stayed in Miami for a little bit. Ended up going back to like the Palm Beach area, and eventually, just working professionally. I would say as a musician for the next 10 years before I started a master's. But that transition of getting to this point, I think, was me even there was, while I was gigging,
Hmm.
my mid to late 20s, I think I was kind of like, man, yeah, this is cool. I'm doing what, I thought I wanted to be doing in when uh 5 years ago, 7 years ago. But I think I also saw the limitations and just, as far as just like a financial plan
Hmm.
when you're an independent contractor. And I'm in Florida too, right? So
Okay,
like
yeah.
a hurricane comes, and now all of a sudden we don't have any gigs this weekend.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So, when all your income is around performance, and then any little thing shifts, now it's like, oh, okay, I'm not making that money this weekend.
Right.
Um, so I think for me, long term, I was like, man, I think I would enjoy, education. I was teaching a little bit. I was teaching like at local music stores too.
Okay.
So I think for a lot of performance majors, but for us, it's like, playing in a band, sometimes teaching lessons, maybe playing for a church, those type of things.
Hmm.
That's what a lot of performance majors and musicians tend to do. So I was no different kind of doing those things. But I was like, man, it's probably a better way financially to put this together. So I think in the back of my mind, I was like, yeah, maybe I'll go back to school and eventually see if that can lead to me teaching at the higher ed level. So
Gotcha.
that was kind of in the back of my mind. But I started the application once or twice, never got it in, and it took me actually 10 years before I finally was like, okay, let me see if I can do this master's degree, like 10 years after getting my undergrad. So I did that in Florida also at Florida Atlantic University. Like it was like a commercial music production degree. So, I did that. And that I had already, I was already married, had one child at the time, a toddler, you know what I mean, at that
Yeah.
time when I started that. So, yeah. And
Yeah, man.
then to make this short, just to bridge a gap, finished that master's, continued working professionally while I was doing that master's
For
gig and
sure,
doing
for sure.
whatever, daddy daycare, what, all the things. I've done all the jobs, and then I was even after getting a master's, I was in Florida and trying to, apply for a couple things. No bites, nothing kind of opening up,
Hmm.
and I was like, man, I don't know. I think it's going to take more than just a master's degree to kind of like, because then now I really kind of wanted to get into higher ed at this
Yeah.
point. Like, man, maybe to be more competitive, it's either you're on record playing with all these stars,
Hmm.
what I mean? You have a Blue Note contract,
Right,
or,
right, right.
to kind of pop out, be attractive to an institution. So either you have like this incredible discography where they're like, okay, don't worry about all those
Yeah, like
degrees.
obviously you know what you're doing, so
Yeah.
you can compete with them.
Um, Nowadays, I mean, it's so competitive. You have guys who have all the letters and have the contracts, you know what I mean? Or when I say, have the Blue Note contracts or doing all the things. So anyways, I mean, for me, I was like, okay, well, maybe I need to get the doctorate. And then so a few years after getting my master's, I got my doctorate,
Oh, so you're
in
Dr. Satterthwaite.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, you don't put that out too much though. You could, but you,
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
people, if you get to know me kind of well enough, I'm just
you just
like
right, yeah,
I
yeah,
used the word grounded
for
before.
sure, yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. I just it's just such a part of my personality. It's like, yeah, I know too much about what's out here to like, to kind of start to elevate myself because of a degree or this or that. But yeah, yeah, it's
You
that I
just
went to
use it like when it's like necessary.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
You,
mean, it's there, and if somebody asks me, or if it's, if but I don't know, I don't go around and like wear it on my shirt or
okay,
something.
yeah, you're better than me. If I, man, that man, if I don't necessarily have that desire to do it, but I'm
Yeah,
like, absolutely, absolutely.
right, right.
That's just me though. I
Change your artist name.
yeah, I do wonder because Tyrone is getting his doctorate and he should
Yeah,
be done.
he's wrapping
He
up.
should he should be done by like May of next year. He should be done. And so
Okay.
like I wonder if he's I can joke with him all the time. So like I wonder if he's gonna start acting different. I I do wonder if he's gonna start acting different. I'm like, man, like I already can't get on the phone with him. Like I like can't even answer it. But
He's
now I'm
he's
like,
he's busy, man.
yeah,
So
he's been yeah. But anyways, that
that's
that
funny. That's
yeah
funny. No,
yeah
I get it. No, no, that's funny though. But yeah, I went to North Texas,
yeah.
and so yeah, so that was cool. And yeah, so here, like I said, been here in Georgia like 3 years now, teaching at UG.
What made you decide to move here?
I just really it was the work, it was a job, So
Oh,
I
okay.
applied, yeah, so there was a opening at University of Georgia. The position was assistant professor of of piano and African American studies.
Okay, nice, nice.
So I didn't honestly I didn't never thought I would be here. I
Yeah,
didn't know anything about University of Georgia or like, th this kind of whole locale or anything like that.
yeah.
But just like looked at the position and was like, I currently at the time when I applied, I was doing my first job as a professor at Southeastern University, a private Christian college in
Mhm.
Central Florida. So I was doing that for a year, and then I saw this posting and I applied, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'll give it
That's what's
give it
up.
a
Yeah.
shot. So that's yeah, and so just kind of been learning about this area and everything since I've been here. But yeah, it's been good. It's been great music community, lots
Mhm.
of talented people. So no shortage of that.
Got you. My parents went to UGA actually. That's where they met.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. What was I gonna say? Talk to me because I know I'm sure every musician has thought about this. Every like full-time musician or anyone who takes it seriously has thought about, man, you know what? I'm just gonna get a regular job and I'm gonna just do this on the side. So talk about like, just the sense of man, like, but like the music is in me and like, you just want to keep going and you don't want to give it up, even though, financially or like on the other side of like maybe your career moving up isn't looking like you should do it.
Yeah, that's a good you go right to the questions. You know exactly. You know our industry well. I think for musicians, our corporate job is sometimes in education,
Hmm.
or maybe our corporate gig is an actual corporate gigging band, or maybe like a church, like a well-paying church.
Uh-huh.
So what I'm getting to is that I'm no different. I definitely struggle with that. So my point is that like as I was like, in that 10-year period before starting my master's, I think that's part of what you're dealing with. You're starting a family. So when I'm an undergrad, it's like, oh yeah, I just want to be on somebody's stage. Yeah, this gig money for this weekend, that's great. That's all I need. And then all of a sudden, you're married with kids. You're like, oh, that's not enough money. Or this is not sustainable at this level anyway,
Right.
unless you're touring back in the day and it's different level of budget. But so For me, I think I saw more of the financial security like in teaching for an institution, trying to do that. And for me, I knew I wasn't like I didn't want to teach K through 12. I didn't want to be a band director because again, I was like in the jazz band, so I knew I didn't want to like do middle school band or high school band and do all because that's just wasn't a part of my background or something I wanted to do. So I think that's kind of what drove me to the higher education because I was like, I don't want to do
Mm.
band and that's not my thing at all. I'm a pianist.
Yeah.
Who never done that, who's never done that, who's always done like jazz band and that those type of things, commercial
Same.
music.
Same. Yeah.
So I was like, maybe my path then for a more secure financial future is higher ed. And
Yeah.
then kind of, so that, yeah. So there's always that. I mean, when you're an independent contractor and every year you're kind of like, you only make what you kind of put together, whatever business you drum up, that's always kind of in the back of your mind, like, okay, well, how do I make more doing this? How do I make it more stable? What are some other ways? But like you said, music is still in you. So
Yeah.
can I find a pathway to do music, be creative, teach, but still be a performer,
Right.
So yeah, it's a challenge and it's a lot of different ways to do it, like when did you graduate from
I
KSU?
graduated December 2019.
Okay, so you've been out doing it for several years. You're gonna find that some of the people that you went to school with, you're gonna see everybody take a lot of different paths.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of, and I've same for me. I've seen people take different paths, either going to like move to LA and get into like film scoring,
Hmm.
and media film scoring and media writing or session musician playing or touring and so it's different ways to put it together but yeah that's how I kind of try to put it together so now where I can like teach still perform still do creative things because at the university they want you doing creative things they want you to be
Right.
recording that
Right.
type of thing.
Speaking about that, your first album, Who I Am. So tell me about like the because I know everybody, because I learned so much between recording my first album and then this album.
Yeah.
So tell me about that process, what it was like just creatively, like how you decided to do it, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So that album, I don't know if you heard any bit of it, but it's kind of more in the I I like to say contemporary jazz because
Yeah.
I don't necessarily like to say smooth jazz because I don't think it's necessarily that if you listen to it.
Right.
Um, because I went in there like telling the players, hey, just play.
Uh-huh.
There's improv all throughout it on all the compositions.
Mhm.
Um, so that was a really great experience because it was really efficient. We recorded that. I recorded that album in 2 days. So
Nice.
like 5 songs one day, 5 songs the next day. And not a lot of editing. I mean,
Uh-huh.
really, really great players who came in and just, they nailed it. And so that was actually, I mean, one of my favorites just as far as process, because I remember when we were listening to the playback after the session the first day, the guys were just like, man, okay, when are we going to tour with this? Everybody
Yeah,
was
nice.
excited. They were just excited listening to the playback, and so the mixing process was smooth, the mastering process, like everything kind of came out great and
Right. Cool.
how I envisioned, so but good learning experience. But I think what prepared me to do that too was some of the stuff I was doing to make a living. Like I was like an MD at a church and I was working at a church that was like super organized,
Nice.
really structured. And so everything was like on a timeline where because we did 5, 6 services a weekend, we'd come in on Saturday afternoon and it was like, okay, band starts at 3, vocalist come at 4, this happens at 4:30, this at 5. So
Oh,
everything
wow.
was it's kind of like when you're doing multi-site mega church,
Yeah,
lots
okay,
of
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
you
it
gotta be on that sort of yeah.
but that kind of helped me walk into, the session and kind of know, okay, I don't have a ton of budget. That's been the thread with all
That'll
of the
do it.
records.
That'll do it. It's like, hey, we ain't got time to really be messing around for
That's
real. So yeah.
that's really the thread. Because if I could sit in there all week and bring some creative minds together and just like, hey man, we can, we can be in the studio, we can experiment, we can. So the budget didn't allow the luxury for all of that. So I'm like, okay, I want to do this project, but it's a fixed, finite, small budget that's self-financed.
Yeah.
So all those experience, going to school, going to music school, learning, playing in those R&B bands, learning
Mhm.
how to arrange
It
and
all it all adds up. It all
it
adds
all
up
adds
together.
up, yeah, and comes together. So, I think, I wrote good parts. I enjoy writing and I love writing for the records. So all three of my records, pretty much the majority of it is, original compositions. So yeah, so that was a good experience just learning, okay, how to go in and kind of get it done. And the subsequent records have been that way. They've been like go in and kind of get it done. Because it's gotten even worse as you kind of get older and people you talk about struggling to get Tyrone on the phone.
Oh
And
man, yeah, yeah, yeah.
people with their schedules and their life as they're getting older, it's like this last record, man, just to coordinate, just to find a date to get the cats in the studio
Yeah,
was stressful and challenging because I was trying to figure out a date that Terrion wasn't traveling somewhere or in Europe
right.
somewhere. And then I was also working with uh Melvin
Melvin.
Jones.
Oof. Yeah, because you got Melvin Jones and Brian Cockrum. I was just like, oof. Because for
So the
context,
hardest
for people that are listening to this, Melvin Jones plays with everybody that you know. He's currently on tour with Usher. Any like Adam Blackstone Super Bowl, any sort of TV, sort of BET Awards, anything like that. Melvin Jones and the Good Times Brass Band is usually with them. And then Brian Cockrum plays with PJ Morton, and PJ Morton tours all of the time. So yeah,
So now you know exactly what I'm saying.
yeah,
That just trying to get just find a date where all these guys, I was like, oh wait, no, this tour ends here. No, okay, I gotta window. No, 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 I'm still gonna be in Australia. No.
yeah, yeah.
So just getting them together is a challenge. So then you really have to have a vision at that point because everybody's so busy,
Right,
unless you're able to kind of clear the schedule and say, hey, everybody, we're gonna get together for a week and we have time to like, but again, everybody's
right. It's hard,
kind
man.
of
It's
doing their
hard
own thing. So, but yeah, yeah, I'm blessed that they were able to come through, man. Really amazing guys.
for sure. So yeah, tell us a little bit more about the new album, Crossing Lines, like the inspiration behind it. Because I know you had spoke on it at the show, but give us the like the rundown about this one and how it's different from the
Yeah.
other two.
Yeah, this one is really it's a homage to my musical, or I should say my culture, my heritage. So being born in Jamaica and raised in the States, raised in South Florida, but I wanted to do something kind of like get back more to the roots, and I was talking about some of the music growing up in the 90s, but it was really just a smattering of stuff. I mean, and there was also a ton of like dance hall and reggae where I was like really into that music, in my teens and knew like all the dance hall records of the 90s. Like I would probably know them, like, kind of like all
Yeah,
the hits and stuff. So that rhythm and that vibe is like completely in me somewhere, So I was like, you know, okay, how do I bridge like that vibe, jazz, but then also, some R&B, soul, neo soul, that type of, just all those kind of things. So really that's the impetus behind it is like bringing all of those things together, why I call it crossing lines. And the title track, if you listen to the title track, when I experimented with that song, I was like, what if I go from like a one drop, which is a Caribbean, rhythm, reggae
yeah,
rhythm. What if I go from that to backbeat kind of R&B groove and just go back and forth like
yeah.
every 8 bars. So listen to that record now.
Yeah.
Now that I've said that, if and listen to the rhythm section, and they're just going back and forth the whole time.
Mhm,
To me, in my opinion, you can check it out and let me know what you think.
mhm.
But to me, it's like you don't even really know. Like you can listen to that song and not even realize that we're going back and forth.
I gotta listen.
between.
I gotta listen again. I gotta listen
Okay,
again. Now that I know that context.
yeah, listen again and see, because but when I hear it, that's not what I think of. You're not like, oh, that's weird. Why are they switching? It just kind of.
It
But
flows.
I mean, and that's, testament to Tarion and Brian, so they're just like flowing in between that. And so, yeah, so if that makes sense, that's kind of like the impetus behind the record is bringing, Afro-Caribbean jazz together in a way and just kind of playing, some of the songs are just kind of like a slow dance hall vibe or, like crossing lines is reggae and kind of like R&B and, so musically
Gotcha.
that's kind of what's going on with that record.
Gotcha. Well, currently, right now, like, I know, I like to talk to musicians that have been in it for a minute. Like, I want to know, like, what do you think your biggest musical goal is right now? Like, what do you want to do musically that you haven't done yet?
Mm, that's a good question. Sometimes that, those goals, as you say, they shift sometimes as you
Yeah,
as
that's
you
it. Yeah.
as you move along. And this was a great accomplishment to kind of do this record and do it with the people I did it, with. I think for me, I'm always looking to collaborate
Hmm.
with people, with great people who kind of, inspire you and push you. So to just, I mean, like Melvin, I've heard about him and heard about him. Man,
Yeah.
oh man, like his solo on one of the songs, Afro Beat Mode. I mean, some of the some of the stuff he's playing and just, I mean, he is flawless, incredible. So I guess what I'm getting to is to continue to like be able to, be fortunate enough to like work with people like that,
Hmm.
bring people like that together, vocalist also. I don't have a
Yeah.
person in mind, but I think, eventually I want to do all my things, all my discography has been like instrumental music.
Yeah.
So, maybe just adding some more vocals to things, like continue writing.
Hmm.
I love recording. I don't
Yeah.
know what, it's a very tough business. It's very expensive.
But it's
That
a
part
great time.
Yeah, that part I don't like, the expense part and all that kind of stuff. But the creative part,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
the actual the right, and it's a long process, right? When you like you've done two records, so
Yeah.
if you're like me, by the time that record comes out, you're pretty sick of that song, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you wrote that song and you lived with it and you arranged it, then you arranged a studio recording date 3, 4, 5 months down the line, and then you record it, then you're mixing it for another several months and
Yeah. Yeah.
mastering. So it might be 6 months to a year where
Right.
you're living with when you were living with that song. So by the time you get that record out, you're like, oh, what's next? So I think for me, continuing to record, projects is just would be a goal. Kind of continue to work with great people, keep on recording, and hopefully kind of get the music out to more people.
Of course. Yeah.
Try to grow the audience, play venues that I haven't played
Hmm.
before.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Play some really cool venues that people know about. International venues or different things like that. Yeah, those would be some goals that.
For sure, for sure. Cause like you put out the one album and you put out Savannah Blue 23, you put out this one
Yeah.
24. So we got some coming 25. Or are you
Pro,
chilling?
pro, probably not.
All right, hey, it's fair, it's fair, that's fair. Yeah,
Not at the rate I'm going because I'd have a lot of work to do to catch up to hit that deadline. But you never know. It's already like I have so many ideas. I don't know if you're like me. I'm like, man, I would love to do. Maybe I'll do a solo piano record now.
man,
Like,
I've got at least 4 or 5 concepts. I've got concepts in
got
mind, and then
ideas.
it's like, so. Oh, this is another question. So,
Yeah.
are you just constantly writing and then you come up with the album concept, how you're gonna put it together, or do you come up with the album concept and then write to that deadline to match the concept of what you're doing?
I would say it's the assignment. Real composers, and I don't know, maybe I should put a caveat with when I
Yeah.
say that, but people, I should say people who like are really, composition focus. They're
Yeah.
writing every day. I wish I was writing every day.
Right.
I tend to be a writer that's like, oh, here's a deadline. Like, okay, I got this session. Let me write for this session, or let me come up with a concept. I don't know if I so much do I mean, like with this one, I mean the albums do have a concept and a thread, but sometimes I let the songs kind of germinate organically. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And if a
Yeah.
song works for the thing, then I'm like, okay, let that fit. But yeah, you are right that it's kind of like once you're like, okay, I'm doing an album, and you have a concept, or you're like, okay, it's crossing lines, it's this. Like even crossing lines, I was writing a lot of that to like sometimes it would start with the rhythm. Like I'd come up with a beat, or I'd come up with a loop and kind of sometimes backwards, sometimes just starting from the piano,
Yeah.
and then write. But yeah, I'm one of those that here's the assignment, here's a deadline, or here's an album, or here's a project, and then now here comes the writing. Deadlines are wonderful, man. I've heard some great people, like you probably heard some of the stories too, like great composers, great people in the business talk about like the importance of deadlines and how that produces wonderful
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
how you get some really great work done when you got that deadline coming.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. All right, cool. So we're gonna move into the segments that we do with everybody that comes on the show. Top three, top three, top
Oh,
three, like legends, like they're just big name legends, and then like top three keyboard players that and like that you can call up that are like
oh,
on the current like the like like your homies. And if
yeah.
you have to do more than three for each, it's fine. But like I call it top three, top three.
Top three music legends, just like
Keyboard
icons.
players, keyboard
Okay, I
players.
thought there were two categories. Okay, I'll
I mean,
I'll
like
start with
top
keyboard.
three like keyboard players that are like legends. Like if you want to go, like Duke, Herbie, Art Tatum, whatever,
Right.
that route, and then like top three keyboard players that and
Ah,
like that are that sort of thing.
got you. Okay, so top three keyboard legends. Um, McCoy Tyner.
Hmm.
Man, these games are always so hard. You always feel like you snubbing somebody. You snubbing a lot of people. Um,
If you got to do more, then it's fine.
yeah. Well, yeah, McCoy, Tyner, he's definitely like just close to my heart, just as far as just loving his style and his sound, and what he did with Coltrane and everything. All of that's just so special. I really love Wynton Kelly.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously the harmonic and melodic stuff, but the feel too, for me, like, nobody kind of feels as good as Wynton Kelly.
Right.
I mean, Oscar Peterson too. Um, so McCoy, Wynton. I'm filtering. I'm thinking of names, and I'm like, there's Kenny Barron, there's Mulgrew Miller, there's
Ooh.
Kenny Kirkland. Gosh, all these guys go on the list. I mean, of course, the big three, right? Herbie, Chick, but maybe Herbie, yeah, McCoy, Herbie, Wynton, maybe a Oscar Peterson
Mhm. That's fine. That's
in
cool.
there. So yeah, yeah, if I had to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Do
who
people agonize over this question sometimes when you
do
ask them?
people what? Do they what?
Agonize over this question when you
Oh,
when you ask
absolutely,
people out there?
absolutely, and that's not even the hardest question because I got something for you after this.
Oh boy.
top three like that
Um, Top on that list is Stephen Scott.
Okay.
So he was a mentor to me. Was really fortunate to be able to work with him for about a year. So man, you talked about music education, and you were asking me about schools and everything, but he was one that was like really like formative, like really a mentor, you know what I mean? Like really really foundational. So yeah, Stephen, legends that I don't know. I feel like I don't know too many legends. Um in our music community in
Yeah, like in
ATL,
our music community. Yeah,
in
yeah.
in ATL now, here's a guy that I don't call a lot, but I really call, but I got his number. So we um Kenny Banks Jr., you know.
Absolutely.
So I mean, I think that's somebody that everybody in our community loves, loves his playing. It's just, really inspirational playing. So it's a great Atlanta cat. Gosh, who else? Piano players. Legends, local legends.
Well, we already did a legend, so like just people now. So
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, we all got the numbers to all the cats. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, uh, L- Lewis,
Louis Hervo,
Lewis Herbo, Tyrone,
yeah,
Tyrone Jackson. So those are some of our, our local kind of jazz heroes who are like really
yeah,
doing our piano community, right?
for sure, for
Here.
sure.
So yeah, it's been cool to connect with all those guys and like, all they've all kind of like, reached out and, we have
Yeah,
that little network. So and always inspiring playing, right? Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the worst thing that's happened to you on a gig, or the
Oof.
worst gig that you've had? Anything like that?
Oof. Oof. Man, I took a gig in college, a top 40 R&B gig.
Hmm.
And, back then I'm just like, you don't know what you don't know.
Hmm.
I mean, I should have known, but like, being eager,
Yeah.
guy called me, and was like, "Hey man, can you, do this thing tonight?" Like it was that type of thing.
Okay.
Um, okay, I'll give it a try. I didn't think that like, okay, do I even know the repertoire of this band? I don't know, I couldn't tell you what my 20-year-old, 21-year-old brain was kind of thinking at that time.
It was like,
But I
hey
did
man, they
know
need keys. It's paying. I wasn't doing anything. Let's go.
that was the extent of my thought till I got on the bandstand and I'm like, man, I don't know any of these songs. Like I didn't know I probably knew three songs maybe the whole night. And
Mm.
they had really, they had, arrangements and all of that, and they're going from song to song, and I'm, trying to catch some of this stuff, but just like just getting butchered, just like trying to keep up and not know the repertoire and not even like you hearing the song for the first time. You're like, wait, what is this? What do we do? So,
Where the cat's looking at you like, dog, who is this person?
um, uh, they were older and cool. You know
Oh,
what I
okay.
mean?
So they were
So
cool. Yeah, that's not bad.
they were just probably like, yeah, he don't, yeah, he really doesn't, he's really not
Okay,
ready for
okay,
this
yeah.
gig, or he doesn't. I I'm sure that's what they thought and they
Yeah, for
saw.
sure.
Maybe he assumed I knew some of it, but again, Green didn't have a list, didn't do the research, didn't really know. If you do these things long enough, you kind of start to learn, okay, here's some of the things that like
Yeah.
call, or here's some of the you might walk into a situation and know maybe 50%
Yeah.
of the stuff, but at that point for me, it was like
Mm.
I had no clue about what the repertoire was for a band like that, so yeah, that was a rough night. That was like, okay, I gotta learn this
No,
I
no,
gotta
I
learn
feel that. I feel
repertoire.
that. I got you. So
Yeah.
here's the hard question.
Mm.
You've got an unlimited budget, right? And unlimited availability. You can build your own super group. You can choose literally anybody. You can use cats from this band, cats from this band, whatever, whatever, whatever. It's just got to be, just give me who do you want in your rhythm section. You can do a horn section if you want to, but at least give me a rhythm section and a vocalist that you want to back up. Or, yeah, and a vocalist that you want to back up. You can have whoever you want. The only caveat is that they just have to be alive. Whatever style of music you want, you can you can bring the drummer
Mm.
from Jazz at Lincoln Center, and you can get the bass player from Red Hot Chili Peppers. You can literally any sort of combination that you can think of. They just have to be alive.
Man, you got questions. I need like 2 weeks to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to sit down and unpack. I don't know if I have a good answer for you off the rip. I'll really be kind of stretching and reaching and and again, this would be incomplete because there's so many. Now you see, it depends on style.
Exactly. See, this is the question that gets everybody.
Like,
This is the question
okay,
that gets
yeah,
everybody.
because you started asking that, and really, I mean, like, even to work with Terrion, man. I mean, you know his pedigree. That was a little bit of like a dream kind of
Yeah,
band, or like a dream person to kind of get, because I mean
yeah.
he's international. So that's somebody I would kind of put in the band again.
All right.
But
So Terry Young's
I,
on.
I
And remind
but I,
and
I I always love to stretch out though and get somebody new or try. You know what I mean?
and then
So
also let me remind you, like you don't necessarily need to be in this situation. It's just on whoever
okay,
you want to hear. It's just on whoever
okay,
you
so
want to hear together.
okay, so
Like
it could just be a
you
band
don't need
like
to
I'm
be in
listening
this.
to.
Yeah, you don't need to be in it. Yeah.
Richard Bona on bass.
Okay.
You know Richard
I don't.
Bona.
I don't.
Okay. Um, Bobby McFerrin on vocals.
Ooh. Okay. Oh, okay. We're in there. We're in there. All right.
Yeah, so Richard Bona, Bobby McFerrin. Um, um, what do I want to do here? What kind of drummer do I want to put with that? I was about to say Herbie on keys, but maybe see, this gets fun. It's like a little experiment.
Exactly. Exactly. And there's so many ways it could go. That's why I like it.
Yeah, yeah. What I'm trying to do is like put some like jazz guys, and then maybe some like guys who are jazz, but who do
Hmm.
different, good contemporary jazz, like your Robert Glasper
Hmm.
type,
Yeah.
maybe Glasper on keyboard. We just have some fun,
Have some
we can
fun.
change.
Unlimited
And
availability. Do what you want. Unlimited
yeah,
availability, unlimited budget, you know?
we'll put Glasper on keys just to, and gosh, there's so many good keyboard players too. Um, we do two keyboard players, maybe. I don't know if Glasper and Jason. Yeah, yeah, they've worked together. Glasper and Jason Moran. Why not? Just to, we got two keys. Richard Bona. Like I said, Bobby McFerrin.
On vocals. Who's on drums?
Maybe maybe like maybe Chris Daddy Daves, or
Ooh, okay, yeah, all right.
yeah, yeah. And maybe vibraphone player. Maybe we put Stefan Harris in there.
Okay,
Just,
all right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. That's about what I got for now.
All right, cool. That works. That works.
Yeah, and I know I'll look back and be like, oh man, I should have said this or done that. But
Like
yeah,
now you're just gonna I love asking that question. I like watch. I'm like, dang, like everyone's like, oh shoot, like you can do whatever, you know. But now I like that question. You know, it gives you time to be creative, think about musicians that you think would gel well together, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, so
you should check out Richard Bona,
okay,
bass player. Just yeah, just Google him. Has he worked with Bobby McFerrin? He probably has. He's worked with a lot of people, but you won't be disappointed. He's
for sure,
he's special. Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. Richard Bona. Yeah,
Got you.
yeah.
All right. So last question: what do you want to leave with the people? It could be like a word of encouragement. You can rant about something, but what do you what do you want to leave? What do you want to leave with the people?
Man, keep going, keep doing it. You know what I mean? Um, I heard something recently that was, I heard that something like that a pastor say, and I don't know if it was original to him, or, I'm sure the concept is, out there. But basically, he said, he said he got to a certain point in his life where he had to become what he was supposed to become. He had to realize what he wasn't. So I think in music, pianists, like, the way we train in jazz is to like listen to everybody, transcribe everything, like absorb all these things. And then of course, like you find your voice and personality within that. But I guess what I'm getting to is also embracing what you're not, and then leaning into what you are, and what your brand is, or what you want to be. You know what I mean? And then keep going, because everybody, has a voice. Everybody brings something. We were talking about all these different pianists. And you've interviewed all these people and listened to everybody. So I'm sure, we can all listen and be like, oh man, I really love that artist for that or that artist for that, right? And then we have some of those artists who you think, man, these people, like, if you think of like really famous singers, like I told you I'm from Jamaica, so you think of somebody like Bob Marley,
Okay.
who you won't say is like a great vocalist
Hmm.
or a great guitar player, but he writes great songs. Some maybe might argue with me on that and say,
Hmm.
well, okay, well, he is a great vocalist or whatever. But sometimes you
I know
think of
what you're
these,
getting at.
yeah,
Yeah.
these singers, and they're not like, it's not like Luther Vandross, or it's not like, who everybody will say, okay, these people are phenomenal singers. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So, but they have a vision for their art and what they do, and they like keep going with their vision, and they kind of keep putting it out there, and they keep creating, and they find their audience. So, that's what I'm trying to do, as I kind of keep pushing forward. It's like lean into the things that I like, and lean into the things I like to create, and kind of keep putting it out there. And you definitely doing that, man. You're doing like,
I
I know you
appreciate
said you just graduated 2019, but like, man, second record already, podcast. You said you got about 4 or 5 concepts on the way. So,
it.
I mean, you're doing that, man,
Thank
like
you.
creating and going. So, I mean, I think that's what it's about. And the audience kind of comes, maybe finds you.
Yeah. Appreciate it,
Yeah.
man. Appreciate it. But yeah, man,
Yeah.
give the people your socials where to find you.
Yeah, you can I'm on socials at gregonkeys.com. So, you can, I'm not on everywhere, but IG, if you go, and then also the website is gregonkeys.com. It's an easy way to go and keep up with me, or if you want to find some of the music. My music is on all the platforms, so you can get all the records on all the major platforms. So it's under my full government name, Greg Satterthwaite. But if that's too complicated and you're like, what the heck is that? Just go to gregonkeys.com, and you'll be able to find the music.
And your keys is with an S, right?
Yeah.
Because people
Yes.
like my
Yes.
because my keys is with a Z, and so every
Right.
now and then people are like, no, I emailed you, and I'm like, send me the screenshot, and like they missed
Yeah,
this,
with an S.
and I'm like, nah, or they spell my name with a K, and I'm like, dog, come on, bro, what are we doing? But anyways, but yeah, man, appreciate you being on the Major Keys podcast. Y'all go get Greg's album, Crossing Lines. It's available right now. Um, we'll see y'all next time. Keep pressing on. Y'all have a good one.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yes,
See
sir.
you.